Hello and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. And welcome, my friends, to Secret Origins Month 3! A lot of people have been anticipating this year's Secret Origins Month, even throwing out suggestions for it that I should probably address. The big one is people wanting to see villain origins. Unfortunately, that's not gonna happen this year, or probably even next year or the year following, sorry to say. It's actually a rather good idea. The problem is that we still have a lot of heroes to get through. Hell, we haven't even gotten to the first comic with the Avengers, and that's only because I want to do more of its members before I get to that. Another idea was to look at Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles' first comic. The problem with that one is the same problem I had with doing Spawn's origin. They're too recent! The idea behind Secret Origins Month is to go all the way back to the Gold and Silver Ages. Comics were different back then. They had different art styles, different ways of laying out panels, and a completely different way of writing. Hell, it's been pointed out to me that the reason comics used to have so many exclamation points in the dialogue was because they were afraid a period would be too small for the reader to see. That's the kind of fears they had back in the day. But anyway, let's get to our subject today, The Flash. Like with Green Lantern, we're going to look at the Golden Age version of the fastest man alive. And like the original Green Lantern, we'll get to Barry Allen eventually. I feel even more desire to look at the Golden Age versions due to what's happened in recent times in comics. I've mentioned the DC relaunch before. Reboot! And part of it is that superheroes only started appearing about 5 to 10 years ago in their time frame. They never had a golden age of heroes. There are positives and negatives to that. Hell, I made a webcomic trying to give an optimistic view of the world having a superhero for the first time. However, the big downside is that they've lost one of the things that made the DC universe so great to begin with. Its legacy. The second book that I started regularly reading after Teen Titans that got me deeper into the DCU was JSA, about the Justice Society. Heroes who were still alive even after serving in World War II. Were they old? Yeah, but they could still kick 7 kinds of ass, and they still fought alongside a younger generation, occasionally passing the torch on to their children and grandchildren. There's so much history and intrigue, and that's what pisses me off so much about the reboot. It sweeps it all away, supposedly under this vague notion of iconic, even though they keep changing iconic elements and are unable to describe what iconic is. But yeah, now we have heroes entering into a time that's dark and kind of paranoid, and everything's gruesome and grim. It's the 90s all over again. Dude! Some of us are less upset about that than others. Anyway, the Golden Age characters do have a new lease on life in the book Earth 2, and while they've revised it so they're just starting out on this alternate Earth, Earth 2 is a surprisingly good read, very enjoyable, and a reminder that Cry for Justice was simply some horrible delusion from James Robinson, and that he can still write really damn good stuff. So why am I talking about all this instead of the creation of the Flash himself? Well, that's because there's shockingly little information that I can find about the creation of the original Flash. But maybe we could just let the comic speak for itself, as we dig into Flash Comics number 1.
Welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Linkara's gonna teach you all a lesson you won't learn. Brodsky, you're not the smartest. Life out, not an artist. Anyone who's had a bad comic published, it
Comics #1, like Action Comics and Detective Comics before it, is an anthology, so we get other stories too. Most noteworthy, the first stories of Hawkman and Johnny Thunder. Because I don't want this episode to run too long, and because I want to focus on The Flash, we're only going to look at Jay Garrick's inaugural story. The Flash debuted in 1940, written by Gardner Fox and drawn by Harry Lampert. While an anthology book, it is the Flash's name that's across the top, so he's the one who gets the main action on the cover. Introducing the Flash, fastest man alive! And yet, I'm still waiting for my pizza to arrive. The Flash is running to stop a bullet with his hand. Wow! That will just shoot a hole through his hand. The Flash's costume is remarkably simple. A red skin-tight shirt with a lightning bolt on it, blue jeans with lightning bolts sewn on them, and a salad bowl helmet. Well, okay, it's supposed to resemble the helmet worn by the Roman god Mercury. Still, you gotta hand it to the guy. At least Clark Kent had glasses to cover up his face. This dude just puts on a helmet to hide his identity. We open with the Flash doing ballet, apparently, as his one foot is up on his tippy toes. And his torso is kind of bulky. And the other leg just disappears from sight. Maybe we got Rob Liefeld all wrong. He's actually an artist from the Golden Age who was somehow transported here. Faster than the streak of the lightning in the sky. Swifter than the speed of the light itself. Fleeter than the rapidity of thought. Speedier than a Gonzales. The Flash, reincarnation of the winged Mercury. You may want to clarify if you're speaking metaphorically. With superhero comics, that's entirely plausible. His speed is the dismay of scientists. Only a science major could... Damn it, I am so dismayed! But before he became known and feared as the fastest thing on Earth, Jay Garrick was an unknown student at Midwestern University. Except for, well, all the people who knew him, as we're about to see. Jay runs up to his love interest, Joan, and asks her out to a dance. Don't think so, Jay. You're a scrub on the football team, and you never stand up to Dr. Cox. And Captain Bull Tryon's already asked me. You mean you won't go out with me just because I'm a football scrub? Well, that and the werewolf thing. No, but because a man of your build and brains could be a star. A scrub is just an old washwoman. You won't put your mind to football. So he's a towel boy for the football team? I'm confused now. Also, let this be a lesson, aspiring men. The ladies only appreciate your strength and intelligence if it's put to use on a college football team. So I'm... an old washwoman, eh? I'll show her! I'll only use regular strength on her laundry! Jay tries to do better on the football field, but still has trouble. But in the research laboratory, the football dub is a brilliant student. Football dub? He's the football team's translator? Jay, you studied the gases emanating from hard water for 3 years. Hard water? They're experimenting on ice? Well, okay, obviously Gardner Fox meant heavy water, since that's what it tends to be retconned as in future stories. Jay works on it long into the night, naturally wearing a business suit while he does so, because that's appropriate attire for science. He goes on until 3:30 in the morning. 3:30? I need a smoke. Oh, 1940s. Never change. And guess what? All he does is turn his back to the lab equipment and just light up. Right next to his equipment, for crying out loud. Damn it, I miss the days when you were allowed to smoke next to sensitive chemical mixtures in laboratories. Boy, that feels good.
God, I love cigs. I gotta get a carton of these for my pregnant wife.
And I guess that cigarette was just so alive with pleasure for him that he completely leaned back onto the beaker full of heavy water, and it drops down to the floor and shatters, emitting noxious fumes. Whew! That gas is powerful stuff. Oh, wow, man. By the way, I would love it if it turned out that this whole thing was just an anti-smoking PSA. Overcome by the fumes, Jay lurches forward. It's too much for me. Squiggly lines. overpowering me. Ugh. The next day, the professor who was working with him walks in and finds his body, which has been inhaling the deadly fumes of the gas elements of hard water. I don't think this comic knows what half of those words mean. Especially not deadly, because I imagine he'd be, dead if he was inhaling deadly fumes all night. He's in the hospital for the next few weeks, but fortunately he makes it through. Boy, that food tastes good. I could eat a horse. You'll eat mush for another week and like it. Ha 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 ha. Have you noticed that my torso is really boxy? In another section of the hospital, Colonel Sanders here is talking with the professor about what's happened to Jay. Unless the specialist from New York is crazy, your boy will be the fastest thing that ever walked on Earth. The elements of hard water will speed up a person's reflexes. The gas injects him like a vaccination. Yeah, the gas injects him via his lungs. What? Science knows that hard water makes a person act much quicker than ordinarily.
Of course! Don't you know anything about science?
By an intake of its gases, Jay can walk, talk, run, and think swifter than thought. He will probably be able to outrace a bullet. Here, let's go test it.